Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. You're listening to our D&D game. I'm your host, the Dungeon Master, or DM for short, and this one's kind of a fun one. So the prologue is in 439 AD. Gawain volunteers to search for the answer to the Grimm Baron's riddle that we mentioned in the last video. The plot then takes place in 440. And Gawain is still searching for the answer when he meets Ragnell, the loathly lady. She has the answer, but the price is marriage. So he accepts, and Arthur escapes Gromer since he has the answer. And Gawain follows through and marries the loathly lady. And on their wedding night, it breaks the spell which had made her hideous. So she's restored to beauty, and it is very much Beauty and the Beast, right? So we decided to do some fairy tale adventures, and I remember an old D&D module I thought was really cool. It was based on Alice in Wonderland, and the D&D characters find a kind of like a cottage, and when they go in, I remember the module describes the things in the cottage in great detail, but it, like, for instance, if there's a light bulb, the module will say, you find this tiny glass sculpture, and inside of it is this strange sort of metal shape. Um, and so on and so forth. And it doesn't just say, so you find a light bulb, because D&D characters would have no idea what a light bulb is, right? So everything in the cottage is described in that fashion. And then of course they end up, and they go through the looking glass, and you have all these adventures, so on and so forth. But I've always liked the mixture of traditional D&D with fairy tales, right? But I decided to do my version not so much like Disney, where everything is saccharine sweet, but more like the original Grimm stuff, right? Where a lot of it is just straight up horror, and a lot of it is a cautionary tale of some sort. So I went that route, you know. I made things very scary, very creepy, very weird. Um, and the like I remember we did Hansel and Gretel. So they go there and they save the kids, and the kids have wandered into this black forest um, from a nearby village, and the kids tell the player characters that the Black Forest is famously haunted, but an old woman had appeared to them asking for help, and so they came in here to try to help her, and that's when they found this gingerbread house, and they say that they can't find their way out, you know. And so at any rate, the Quickling monk has super speed, so he runs around looking for the exit really fast, and he runs in a straight line. Like, he leaves the gingerbread house, he runs in a straight line and arrives at the gingerbread house. Does that make sense? So he says, we got a problem, like space is kind of warped in here, time in there is also warped, so you could spend 10 years in there and come out the same day you left, or vice versa. um And so at any rate, the witch shows up and wants to eat everybody. They kill her and throw the remains in the stove. Um, they eat here because they don't know what they can eat and cannot eat, right? But um, Hansel and Gretel had already been eating the gingerbread house, and nothing bad seemed to be happening to them. So they eat some of the gingerbread house too, and everything's fine there. Nothing bad happens. It's not poison or anything. But at any rate, they find out, they adventure on, and they run into seven dwarves. And it's not cute little dwarves, it's more like Dungeons and Dragons dwarves, right? So it's these seven warrior dwarves. They're here. Um, there's they want to mine precious gems and stuff out of the Black Forest. Um, but they warn everybody about this evil queen. And the evil queen is a mashup of basically every evil queen from those old fairy tales, right? And so it turns out she's one of the immortals. And this is her domain here. And this is just, she just likes to screw with people. She's basically bored, and this is how she entertains herself. And so she was the one who appeared outside of the Black Forest in the guise of an old woman, very similar to in Snow White, the witch with the apple, similar idea. She appeared before Hansel and Gretel as a helpless old woman asking for help, and you get the idea. So she does stuff like that to get people to enter the woods. Um, at any rate, they don't actually fight her. They never find her. They are just sort of fighting her puppets, basically. She has the ability to create monsters at will. One of the things she creates is literally a big bad wolf, specifically like a chaotic evil giant wolf, right? So they kill that. Um, and the final thing is the headless horseman. And I based it on there's an Irish myth about this being. I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, but it's like Cruum Croct, I think. I remember it means bent or warped spirit, and but it is. It's just the headless horseman, and so it appears as a black knight, but he's got his helmet under his arm, and he's got no head. So he chases him down, and he has a lance. He has like a black lance and stuff like that. So he's riding by people on his black horse, and when it breathes, um, there's steam that comes out of the horse's nose, but it's reversed, where the air is warm, but its breath is cold. Um, but at any rate, it does these sort of drive-by attacks and is stabbing player characters with its lance, and so on and so forth. Um, so they manage to find their way out, and it's kind of just random rolls to see if you can make it out of the woods. And on a nat 20, you do. And so the party rolls a nat 20, and they get out of the Black Forest, and they're thinking that the headless horseman can't follow them, and they're wrong. Um, so they book it back to Camelot, low on hit points, and have multiple encounters with the headless horseman on the way back. Um, and I really leaned into the horror movie tropes. He was killing people they'd meet along the way, and so on and so forth. And so they get to Camelot, and everybody kills him, quote unquote, kills him. But again, he's a spirit, right? So once he gets down to 0 hit points, he just kind of turns into like a black mist and dissipates. And so they think that's kind of the end of it. But then in later games, I would kind of pepper it throughout the campaign. They would see him on the drawbridge at night, and he would just be looking into the courtyard. I mean, I don't know if you can say looking when he doesn't have eyes. You know what I mean, though. His body language is that's the direction he's pointed in, and he seems alert. Um, and then he'll just ride off. kind of quietly into the night. Um, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was very creepy and it was a lot of fun. Um, and then for the epilogue, 442, Tristram is imprisoned by King Mark. And that's it for this one. I hope that you thought it was interesting. If so, be sure to hit like. It really helps out the channel. Um, uh, Hit subscribe, ring the bell, leave us a comment. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.